Good morning, everyone. This is Salome B. And today I want to just talk about bullying. And I want to talk about it today because I have always, for the last couple of years, since my son has been in public schools, he's been bullied because he's short. Um, Kids have talked about him because his voice has not changed. He sounds like a girl. He has a lot uh, of feminine ways because he's not hit puberty yet. So he gets picked on a lot. The first time he ever came to me about getting picked on, it was a white child had called him Darky. And he was kind of like, wanted to change his skin color and his eye color and all that. He wanted to wear blue contacts and stuff like that. So I said, why do you want to do that? I always ask questions with my son. Why do you want to do that? And he says, well, they calling me darky at school, and I start crying and stuff like that. And I said, well, do you know why you're dark? And he was like, no. I said, that's because you have melanin. I said, do you know what melanin is? And he was like, no. I said, melanin is what makes the sky blue, what makes the grass green, what makes the leaves brown, what makes the trees brown. That's color. I said, that's why you're dark skinned. I said, that's a protection for your skin. I said, the reason why the white child did that to you because he doesn't know what that is. He think that that's a joke. But I said, scientifically, I said, melanin in the plant world is called chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is what makes leaves green. It gives the color to the earth and the dirt and the sky. If there was no color, there would be no you. So I explained to him. And he understood, and it cheered him up because he was down. His spirit was down because he was hurt. He thought being dark skinned was wrong. And when I was coming up, I had nobody to explain that to me when I was joked on about being dark skinned. But I made sure that I studied melanin and skin and all of that stuff and black history so I could teach my kids when they get bullied by somebody who don't understand them, I could teach them about themselves. And that's the best thing to do when your child is getting bullied, to make sure you explain to them why this is happening and what they can do about it. So my son came home today, and he said a little boy was picking on him and asking him to go outside, and he was like, we can fight and all this and that and the third. And I said, he was like, he always trying to get attention and he keep calling me gay and all this and that and the third. And I said, well, what do you know what gay means? And he said, yeah, that's when a boy likes another boy. I said, well, are you gay? He was like, no, I'm not. I don't like boys. I like girls. I said, then why are you getting mad if that's not true? And he thought about it, and he was like, I try to make my child think, think about what's being said to you. Because if you're not thinking about it and you're not securing yourself, I said, then you're going to get mad because you're caught off guard. You don't know how to handle that, and you're not educated about it. So I said, you're still a child. I said, you're only 12 years old. I said, boys don't hit puberty till they like 13, 14, and 15. I said, you don't need to worry about why your voice is like that. I said, you're not a grown man. So I said, you don't need to worry about that. And I said, when people talk about you, it's because they're insecure themselves. And I said, it makes them feel better when they talk about other people. And I said, usually when they talk about other people, they actually referring to themselves and not you. So, I told him that. And then I asked him, I said, well, why do you think the little boy is showing off and picking on you in front of people? And he was like, to get attention. And I said, right. So I said, why do kids do that? And I said, why aren't you doing that? And he said, I'm not doing that because I don't need to get attention because I don't have low self-esteem. I said, correct. So I said, if you're not doing that, that means that you don't need to do that. I said, he's looking for attention. I said, you're not. So I said, children only do that when they're not getting attention. And I said, you need to call it out when he does that. I said, you need to tell him, look, you're looking for attention and I'm not going to give it to you. And after we had that little 5-minute talk, my son went in his room and he cheered up. So I just talked about this because bullying is prevalent in the schools. And the reason why it's in the schools so much now, because it goes on in households everywhere in America. There's, bullying in relationships. There's bullying everywhere. And I think everybody needs to be educated about it with kids and be able to tell kids how to protect themselves. So I emailed the school and I told him, I said, if the child starts doing it again, talk to your guidance counselor. And I said, if they don't do anything, I said, the last resort is I'm coming to the school and I'm talking to the principal, because I said there should not be any bullying. And I said, and if you are being picked on about your skin color by, other children who may be Caucasian, that's going to need to stop as well. Because I said, you are supposed to go to school to learn, not get picked on. So I said, the grown-ups in the atmosphere need to make sure that's not happening. I said, if they're not making sure that's happening, they will when I come up there. Because I said, I'm not playing. So I emailed his teacher explaining to her that she need to move that child. And, I say one or two things and that's it. And then I'll go up the chain of command until it gets right. But that's what parents need to do. Like, do not ignore bullying. I remember in my last semester class, I had a lady that was saying that her daughter was being bullied so bad that her daughter wanted to commit suicide or wanted to quit school. And my daughter was going through the same thing. It was a little girl that was a little couple of years older than her. She was dark skinned. My daughter's she's caramel, kind of on the light skin side, and she got light brown eyes, and the little girl was picking on her. So I politely, went over to her mother's house, knocked on the door, and was like, where's your mom at? And her uncle came outside, and her uncle was gay, so he was saying that he was her aunt. And I was like, look, you need to get your child. I said, because over here in this apartment complex, there can't be no kids putting their hands on nobody else's kids, or we gonna have to go to the landlord. So he turned around and he looked at her and he was like, do you want me to punch you in your motherfucking face? To this little girl, right? And I felt so sorry, because I was like, well, damn. And I looked at my daughter and we went back in the house and we talked, and I said, you see why that little girl is picking on you? I said, because her uncle or aunt is bullying her. So I said, she's taking that out on you. So I explained to my kids, basic to the point, that you're getting bullied because children are getting bullied by their own parents or anyone in their household. And then they take it out on other children. And I said, you need to know how to identify it so you can call it out and stop it. And I said, if you're having problems, I said, make sure you come to me, because I'm not a parent who is going to go along to get along. If I see something going on with my child and the school ain't doing nothing, or I will go to the chain of command, or I will write the school board. That's just me. Before I put my kids in school, I used to homeschool my kids. So, and there's some legal procedures you have to go through to homeschool because, this bullying stuff is getting out of control. The schools, are overworked, overwhelmed, and it seems like they can't do anything about it. But the parents can by educating them children about themselves and educating the teachers and getting on the teachers. Because a lot of these children, their parents are working, they're left at home by themselves, and, they raising themselves. So when they take out abuse on other children, it needs to stop because a lot of children abuse other children. And that's what bullying is. It's a child abusing another child, and it's all learned behavior, and it needs to stop. So, I talk to my son. I make sure that I don't make my children afraid of me so they won't talk to me. Because, back in the day, the elders would make you afraid of them to the point where you don't want to talk to them. And you keeping and hiding secrets. And you don't want to talk to your own parent because you're scared to talk to them. So I wanted to change that with my kids. I want my kids to I have an open door policy with my kids. I want them to talk to me. Because when I was coming up, I couldn't talk to anybody, and I was being assaulted, molested, multiple times, and I couldn't say anything to my mom because she was so strict about everything and didn't want us to talk about too much or wanted us to be quiet, don't be talking to adults and all this and that and the third. And when you tell your child to not to be talking while grown folks talking or whatever, they don't talk to you at all. And you want to have an open door policy so your child can express to you what is going on with them. Because once they don't want to talk to you, that's it. They're not going to talk to you. They're going to withhold secrets. And I don't want my kids holding secrets from me. So I talk to them. And I've always made it a point when I took them home from birth, I talked to those children. And a lot of us as mothers need to do that. If you just had a baby, talk to it. If you look up in science, talking to a baby brings out its character. It brings out its learning ability, its talking ability. Talk to it. After you burp it and feed it, talk to it. Put love in it, because once you put love in a child, they'll give it to you in return. You got to give love to get it back. And you got to be there for them when they need you. Because I know what it's like when I came up. My mom was never there. She didn't know how to nurture. She didn't know how to talk to me. She didn't know how to, we didn't even have a talking relationship. So if something happened to me, I didn't know how to express myself to her. So I make it my business with my children that they express themselves. Because if somebody's doing something to them or harming them, they're not going to tell you. And my son, he didn't want me to tell the teacher or anything, but I told him, I said, this is a problem, and the solution is for us to notify everybody. Because I said, if the child keeps picking on you and they don't do anything about it, I said, eventually you're going to have to defend yourself if he puts his hands on you. So I said, we're trying to clear up the situation right now. Because if it doesn't stop, I said, then me and your daddy tell you, after a while, you got to defend yourself. So we're going to put it on paper, make sure everybody knows there's a child messing with you. And if they can't get him under control, then you're going to defend yourself. So that's my thing with my child. We've had talks, and he has this thing about he hates that everybody calls him like, gay or whatever. And I tell him all the time, I said, you know what gay is, you know what being a homosexual is. I've already explained that to you. So I said, just because everybody's talking about you have a voice like a female, I said, what does that matter to them? I said, it's your voice. That's what God gave you. You can't change it. And I said, you're just going to have to wait for the process of puberty to kick in. And I said, all these children that are obsessed with, homosexuality and all of this and the third, I said, you don't need to worry about that right now. You're in school. I said, you just need to worry about getting your grades and not worrying about what other children have to say about you. I said, if you're comfortable in your own skin, you don't need to worry about what people have to say about you. I said, that's just the purity truth of the matter. Because I had to get to a point in my life at 37, I had to learn self-love because my parents weren't nurturing like that. My father wasn't there like that. My mother wasn't emotionally there like that. I had to raise my two sisters, and my mother was working, and I'm 10 years old raising two small children. So I didn't have anybody to be there for me. I had to do my own homework. My mother could not read. So when I came home, I didn't have any help with homework. I had to do that stuff myself. I had to figure it out on my own. And I did. And I learned self-love, and self-love and self-education will keep you from looking on the outer side of yourself for approval. And that's what I teach my children, self-love, because you won't look for it outside yourself. And I make sure that both of us, myself and their father, is there for them when they need to talk. And we had to get to that point because their father he liked to rule with an iron fist, and he not even listening. He just, telling them. And I'm like, no. You have to listen to a child today. Because I said, you don't want your child to be scared of you because they ain't going to tell you nothing. If all you do is pull out a belt every time you're talking to them, or all you doing is roughing them up every time, and you ain't talking to them, they're going to look for that person to talk to, and it might not be you. And I'm like, you don't want nobody else educating your child. You need to be educating your child yourself. And if you're doing that, that's the old way. Today in 2018, you're going to need to be a psychologist for your child, and you're going to need to be talking to them day and night, because the parents that don't talk to these kids and they throw them away to the streets, once you throw them away, you ain't going to never get them back. So this is my thoughts on my son, talking to him about bullying and name calling. Like, share, subscribe. Salon B. Have a great day.